everyone, Steve Adubato. This is Lessons in Leadership. We kick off this series. This new series is called the mini-series of Lessons in Leadership, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey. So there'll be a whole range of programs with people in this state who are involved in discovery and innovation. And our partner in that is Chris Palladino, president of New Brunswick Development Corporation, DevCo, and Helix behind him. Chris, this series, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey, there'll be Tim Sullivan from the Economic Development Authority, the head of the RWJ Barnabas Health, the head of Hackensack Meridian Health, Princeton University, Rutgers University, all your partners. Why is this series, Lessons in Leadership, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey, so important, Chris?
Look, it's important because the Helix is important. The Helix is important to New Jersey. We're building an ecosystem that is going to foster scientific collaboration, discovery, and commercialization, and hopefully reignite the innovative spirit of New Jersey, which has been part of our history.
Yeah, tee it up, Mary.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to be talking a lot about discovery. What does that look like in 20 seconds or less? What does discovery and innovation look like in New Jersey?
New Jersey has, a long history of this. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Sarnoff, Waxman. They created industries. They created jobs. And what we are trying to do is create an environment where the next telephone, the next laser, the next pharmaceutical or therapy is going to be founded and create an entire new industry in New Jersey. And this is creating an environment where creative collisions can happen. What's fortunate is that people have finally realized once again that they need to collaborate. They need each other. They can do more in partnerships than they can alone. And this is a place that can do that.
And so you may wonder, discovery and innovation in New Jersey, and I appreciate that Chris Palladino mentioned Edison. On our sister series, Remember Them, that I do with Jackie Chikarico, we did a whole special on innovation in New Jersey that started with people like Edison. And so to Chris's point, this whole series, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey, we'll talk to people, we'll feature people who are making a difference, who are innovating, who are discovering. New Jersey has that history, as Chris said, but why not in New Jersey again? And that's what's happening at the Helix. Chris, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mary.
You got it. Lessons in Leadership, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey. Here it is.
We'd like to welcome Joe Jingoli, partner DCO Energy and Jingoli Construction, and partner at Hard Rock Atlantic City, with Meegan Adames, principal, New Brunswick P-TECH, New Brunswick Public Schools. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Steve, I'll throw it over to you. Let's start talking about the Helix and P-TECH.
We saw Chris Palladino intro the segment on the front end. This is part of our series, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey. Joe, tee this up because you talked to us about P-TECH. I was like, what's P-TECH? Put P-TECH in context, Joe, and also make the connection to your organization.
Let me get the lead in on this correct. As we started a couple of years ago with the concept of the Helix project, working for DevCo, and an extension of our social responsibility as a currency and our work for DevCo in New Brunswick, Connor Palladino brought to us, and Connor works for us, the P-TECH program, and he went and saw them, operate in different places, and that this was coming to New Brunswick, and what a great opportunity to partner with an organization like this to get young people involved in our industry at a higher level. We work very hard at the hard hats and the folks working on the job site, and but where could we partner with, where could we interface, where could we get our tentacles deeper into the community in a group of young people who would be interested in the office jobs, the engineering, the architecture, the management, the operations of our power plants. And P-TECH became a extension of our programs we didn't know existed or was even out there, and we're super happy to be with them.
Meegan, as Joe teased this up as he did, P-TECH stands for Pathways in Technology, Early College, High School, correct?
Correct, yes.
Add on to what Joe Jingoli just said, please.
So P-TECH programs are international, and all of them are 9 to 12 high school and associate's degree combinations in STEM fields. So what's exciting in New Brunswick is our focus is on engineering. And our students are they start in ninth grade, they start with dual enrollment classes, and we work with Middlesex County College in order to provide that, the coursework. And our students are completing both their high school diploma and an associate's degree in either civil engineering technology, mechanical, or electrical engineering technology. So depending on the student's pathway, they can finish the whole program in 4 or 5 or 6 years. So there are other early college high schools, which are also great, but what's really exciting about P-TECH is 2 things. One is that it's an open enrollment style program. So we have a variety of students coming in with different levels, and then all finding success through the pathway. And then also our partnerships with the corporation. So it's a very clear pathway into industry and not only onto college. We do have students going directly to college, like NJIT, Rowan, engineering programs. We have students going to the National Guard or to the U.S. Army Reserve, but then we also have students going directly into the workforce.
And partnerships are key. Mary, jump in.
Yeah, Joe, talking about partnerships a little bit more, I know that there is a summer internship program where students that are involved in P-TECH, they literally get to go and see construction and the development in locations like the helix of what's going on in New Brunswick. Can you talk just a little bit about what are some of the things that are happening, say this past summer at the helix, the innovations that these young adults are able to see, participate in, and learn in a hands-on way?
If we take into account that the young people in our cities are right, that all they need is opportunity, and that the connectivity between the community and industry in their communities, it doesn't really exist, or where it does exist, it needs to be strengthened. This is a great partnership to do that. So young people from P-TECH have been interfacing during the school year with men and women from DCO Energy or Jingoli Construction or DevCo or RWJ. And then, as I've discussed with Chris Palladino and our friends at DevCo and the mayor and city council, and if you look at our assemblyman, Kevin Egan, we all learned our careers mostly through either our kitchen table or summer jobs. So if we can replicate that in our community, how successful would we be? And it's proven out to be very successful. And P-TECH is a very important part of that for our future executives. Where do we meet them and where do they meet us?
Meegan, add to that.
So the cool thing about the partnership with Jingoli and our other partners, it's not a one and done. So Jingoli comes and meets our students when they're freshmen, and then introduces their business to the students. Then they come back and do workplace learning experiences with them. So for example, last year, our students who were taking a Principles of Engineering class visited the Helix site multiple times in order to see those principles in action on the site. And they were very excited about it. I mean, they came back buzzing. So all of these are steps in order to interest them in the work and get them excited about our partners. So then when it came time for students to apply for the summer internship, we had a lot of students interested. So they need to be 18 years old. It is a paid internship. And so all that groundwork that's been laid over the previous years meant that many students were interested. The project they worked on was actually something that was also embedded within our curriculum for some of our younger students. They took a shipping container and they're in the process of turning it into a hydroponic garden.
Really?
Last year, the students took another shipping container and turned it into a thrift store, which is now based here at our central office as a higher attire boutique for for people who are going to interview and need nice clothing, but maybe don't have something. So basically taking something that the community needs and the students create the design, the students put it into action. Professionals from Jingoli, many working currently on the Helix site, come and assist. They teach them about construction, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, everything they need to know. And then they actually help the students put everything together. And then we have working, exciting containers that can do something for the community.
Joe, let me ask you something, not just on a professional level, but on a personal level. You and I have known each other for years. And to me, the passion that I see in you when you're talking about these initiatives that help younger people create a pathway, if you will, opportunities in construction and related fields, that's personally very rewarding for you. Talk about that, Joe.
This is not charity. We are recruiting and looking for that next generation to run our companies, to work in our companies, to be in that senior management. The program that we were just talking about, the containers, if you remember 10 years ago, you covered the beginning of that.
That's right.
And the first container was at North Central High, and it was for a PSE&G project we were building for them. Those young people 10 years later have, moved on to careers in our company, graduated from school, joined the union. They were teaching with Connor Palladino, working for us, the young people from P-TECH about the container. And in order to build out a container, you have to know about the project. So we're building a cancer institute.
That's right.
What more important than healthy eating? So the hydroponic garden, they sold to us, and us buying it creates the summer job. The thrift store connects us to the community. What does the community need? How do we need it? And they had to sell that project to us, and we pay for the container. That's how they created their own summer jobs. And they have to work with subcode officials and engineers and architects. Everything we do on a big job, they have to do on the small one, because it is a community piece of equipment and also a building. So all those things are necessary.
To Joe and Meegan, the idea that, again, Joe said it so well, and he always says this to me, this isn't charity. He says it all the time. It makes a difference for young people, but it's business. And it creates opportunities that make sense, that grow the economy. And Joe talked about all the different initiatives along with Meegan. To Joe and to Meegan, cannot thank you enough for joining us. We really appreciate it. All the best. Well done.
Thank you.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
Great drive fuels the leaders of tomorrow and today. Great vision paves the way for a brighter future. Great ambition goes places, moving onward and upward. Great empathy finds strength in kindness and in each other, working together to create something bigger than they ever imagined. Great minds can change the world, and great minds start at Seton Hall.
Lessons in Leadership would like to thank our newest sponsors who make our programming possible, including the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We're now joined by an excellent healthcare leader. Michele Morrison is the president, chief hospital executive, Hackensack Meridian Health, Southern Ocean Medical Center. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you as well.
Well, let's acknowledge and admit publicly that I have been your communication coach for the last couple of years, and you're better. I have not hurt you professionally, have I?
Never. It's been time I've greatly enjoyed.
Let's really, in all seriousness, and I'll disclose that I've been doing executive communication coaching at HMH for years. But I'm curious about this, Michele. As a public communicator in a healthcare world, if someone's not trained, how are they competent and effective in all kinds of challenging situations where they have to communicate under pressure?
So, in reality, Steve, public speaking does not generally come easy for anyone. It's a skill that we learn and perfect along the way in our leadership journey. And having had the opportunity to work with you closely over the last 2 years has really helped me perfect that, become more confident as a speaker, whether it's to my own leadership team or to a much broader audience.
And along those lines, Michele, I'm curious, what would you say? Again, Mary, I know I keep calling it the post-COVID era, but I have to ask you, given the fact that so much is remote, a lot still in person, particularly the hands-on care that physicians, nurses, and other clinicians are providing, but how has the remote world changed your role as a healthcare executive, not just in communicating, but in leading overall?
I think it has created a new set of challenges. One of the biggest attributes in leadership, in my opinion, is really being able to connect with my team, connect with my leaders, connect with my front line, and connect with my patients, their families, and our community. Southern Ocean geographically is a bit isolated, with the next closest hospital being more than 20 miles away. And so here at Southern Ocean, we are truly taking care of our friends, our families, and our neighbors. And part of that really means connecting largely with the broader audience and those that we take care of.
Well said, Mary.
Steve talked a little bit about connecting, and you were just talking about it being isolated, having that 20-mile distance from some of your patients that you're serving. That makes me think about wellness and leadership. Steve and I, especially since COVID, I can't believe we're almost at the 4-year mark of when COVID changed the way that we do everything in life. But it
Mary,
really impacts.
Closer to 5 in March.
It will be. Oh my gosh, you're so right. Yeah, it'll be.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Oh my gosh, you were so right. So math is never my strong point. Communication, yes, math, not so much. But Michele, talk a little bit about wellness leadership. Steve talked about it a lot with the work that we do with physician leaders, nurse leadership, and just people in general, making time for their wellness. Are Steve and I making too much of that wellness leadership connection and how it impacts our day-to-day work?
You are not making too much of it. It has never been more important than it is in this post-COVID era. We just talked about Zoom and the impact on communication. And I think Zoom has led us to, and virtual meetings has led us to a place where we're busier than ever because we're so accessible and you no longer need to be someplace in person. And balance and wellness to your health is so important in maintaining that, not only for yourself and your own personal health and controlling that, eating right, getting enough sleep, exercising, but really for your team in general. COVID was such a difficult time. We've built a lot of resilience from COVID. We've learned a lot about each other and our courage in healthcare, and having a team that is here and a team that is healthy is absolutely essential. And part of that really means having some fun along the way, being able to celebrate successes. I'm very lucky at Southern Ocean. I genuinely like my leaders, my executive leaders, all of my other leaders here at Southern Ocean, and all of our team members. It's important to collaborate. It's important to build on strengths. And it's essential to really celebrate. And we make sure we do that here at Southern Ocean anytime we have the opportunity.
Michele, speaking of celebrating, it's interesting to me. Your background, you have a variety of credentials. You're a registered nurse by background.
Yes.
You have a master's in public health, right?
I do.
Your nursing background, and there are more and more nurses moving into in executive positions in healthcare. What do you believe your nursing background has done for you to help you to be the healthcare leader you are today?
So, Steve, thank you for bringing that up. In my opinion, regardless of your career, but especially in healthcare, it's really understanding your why, because that's what connects you to your success and your organization. For me, my why around why I chose a career in nursing specifically is because my family member was the recipient of a medical error. And that has really helped me in my journey in healthcare and certainly my journey in leadership. Connecting to that each and every day in what I do, how I do it, why quality and safety and the health and wellness of my team members is essential.
Well said, Mary. Last question.
Absolutely. I would like to just talk a little bit about lifelong learning. And I feel I recently had a milestone birthday that I just keep bringing up because I still can't believe it.
Well, she turns 30 and she makes a huge deal about it.
I turned 30. I mean, come on. I make 30 look, like the new 20. Thank you for that, Steve. And I'm fascinated by learning, reading audiobooks. To my left, I have a pile of 1 million books. I'm always picking up, putting down, moving on to something else. Why is it important, especially
By the way,
for
Mary,
leaders?
you do audiobooks?
I do. Well, no, I do both, and you're going to laugh at me, Steve. I have an audiobook for every print copy book that I have because if I'm putting on my makeup, if I'm walking the dog, and it's just a really.
How about this book, Mary? Do you have this book on audio, or
I have. I don't think I have that one on audio, but that one is ingrained in my mind because it went through my fingers on a computer. So lifelong learning, especially the older that we get, some people say, I've arrived, I'm already here. There's nothing more that I can learn. I strongly disagree. Steve and I strongly disagree. We believe that there's always opportunities to learn. Talk about your thoughts on lifelong learning and the importance of it.
Yeah, so have 3 college degrees, learning is definitely important to me, not just higher education learning, but learning every day. Healthcare is absolutely needed to continue education and learning, protocols, evidence-based medicine, it's constantly changing. So for us to be able to treat patients effectively, learning has to be engaged as part of our regular process here. Learning what those treatment modalities are, making sure that they're implemented so that we can have the very best patient outcomes is really what healthcare is about. Healthcare continues to change, continues to evolve, and learning is essential as part of that process.
Michele Morrison is a first-rate healthcare executive. And Michele, keep doing the important work you're doing down in the southern part of the state as part of the HMH system. Thanks so much, our friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Great to see you guys.
Stay with us, Mary, and I have a couple of leadership tips right after this. Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA, and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. Lessons in Leadership would like to thank our newest sponsors who make our programming possible, including the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. All right, folks, back with Lessons in Leadership. We wanted to give you a sense of what my desk looks like. My wife says, why do you have all that crap, that stuff on your desk? These are just some books I wanted to talk about today. These are props. We'll talk about this prop in a little bit. Mary, you like this one?
That's a good one, yes.
And Scarlett's moving in. Is it? You believe that's true, Mary?
Which one? It's a little small for my old eyes.
Fixable?
Yes, everything is figure-outable, isn't it? Everything is figure-outable.
Figure-outable, that's right. I didn't even have it right. My Giants football, my Yankees baseball. Have no idea how these books wound up here. All kinds of
totally a coincidence.
How about my Ben Franklin quote, which we'll take in post-production? This is from Ben Franklin. It's a new one, Mary. Tell me, and I will forget. Teach me, and I will remember. How about this one? Involve me, and I will learn. Brilliant.
That is
Mary,
absolutely.
after all that, that is not the prop I want to talk about. Again, we'll do this in post-production. This is very high tech. I take these quotes and I tape them onto cardboard. How lame is that? This is a quote from the great Vince Lombardi. It'll be Scarlett, our great camera operator, will get this in post. This is a quote from Vince Lombardi from New York, lived in New Jersey a little bit. Great coach from the Green Bay Packers back in the day, won the first 2 Super Bowls. Quote from Lombardi. You ready, Mary?
I'm ready.
Vince Lombardi, great leader, great coach, says, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. Your response?
My response is that is brilliant, because if we say we're perfect, and there are, I'm going to say maybe there's things that you can become perfect at if you are a pole vaulter. I think it's possible to do a perfect pole vault in terms of getting scores.
Stop it. Stop
Well,
it.
I mean, if you get perfect tens, is that perfection?
But
I'm not
that's
sure.
subjective. Hold on, Alvin.
It is subjective.
Come on in. You know why it's subjective? Because a judge is subjectively saying you get a 10 out of 10.
How about a perfect game in bowling? You could have a perfect game in bowling.
Mary, I'll tell you why it's not perfect. The score may be perfect, Elvin, but that bowler knows that certain bowls,
certain bowls.
Mary, certain rolls of the ball
Yes.
were not exactly what that bowler wanted to do. Elvin,
Well, let me just, before Elvin jumps in, I want to say I agree with you, Steve. It's not about being perfect. It is about getting to excellence. I was just trying to think of certain ways that maybe there are.
Even a perfect game in baseball, is not perfect, because say a pitcher threw a terrible pitch and a right fielder had to make a ridiculous play to save the game. It's not perfect. Elvin, what is a perfect direction of a program? Perfect. What is it?
Perfect. No mistakes at all. No mistakes made by audio. No mistakes made by camera. It may look perfect to the viewers, but everyone has to be on top of their game in order for it to be a perfect production.
Do you distinguish, Elvin, between perfection and excellence? And if so, what's the difference? Because I say perfection is really not attainable.
I was going to say the same thing. Perfection is not attainable. I don't think it is. No one is perfect. Nobody's perfect. So you can't attain that.
Okay, Steph Curry plays a great game. You're a basketball guy. Steph Curry plays a great game. Wow, he was perfect from the 3-point line. So he had a perfect game, right?
He had a perfect shooting game. Because he probably had some turnovers. He probably made some defensive errors. So he didn't have a perfect game. He had a perfect shooting game. And he may have been only perfect from the 3-point line, but he may have missed a lot of 2-pointers. So he had a perfect 3-point shooting night. Like I said, no one's perfect.
You know who is perfect? Frank Brown. Frank Brown, our editor. Frank Brown, our audio engineer. Frank, got a minute left. Come on in. Frank, give me something on perfect. Frank, do you buy the audio was perfect on that program? Go ahead.
No, I mean, just as Elvin said, the bottom line is it's perfect to the listener. In most cases, but we'll find little imperfections as professionals in it that we may have, fallen short on. And, there's no perfect situation.
Frank, do we pursue this thing called perfection, knowing that we'll never really get there, and in the process we may bump into excellence?
I think you strive for it. That's how you become better. But you don't beat yourself up if it's not perfect. We want our kids to do well, and we ask them to strive for being very good in things that they do and things that we support them in. But the bottom line is, I don't think there's any, there's no perfect situation.
No, there isn't. And I'm going to say this. While we don't have a perfect team, I'm going to say that we have an excellent team, especially because Elvin was pitching for a raise for everybody earlier in the day. So instead of giving them more money, which they deserve, I'm just going to say they're excellent. They may not be perfect, but they're excellent.
I think our audience should email and say if we deserve raises.
Email me at marykgamba@gmail.com.
What is it that we're asking people to do? Is to say the team should get a raise?
To say if we deserve a raise for the great show that we put on air every Sunday.
Great, but not perfect. Lessons in Leadership. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.